Now, I have a lot of people ask me from time to time, what is the max farming setup? So, in this video, I'm going to be explaining every single max farming setup for every single crop. So, yeah, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's get into this. Okay, so first of all, there's a lot of things that are universal in that sense where every single crop requires this if you want a max farming setup. So let's go through those right now. Okay, so first up we have a level 100 legendary elephant, as you can see right here. Now this pet is extremely useful because of its third ability. Now if you see, the trunk efficiency ability, which you can only get from the legendary elephant, grants plus 180 farming fortune, which is super good because farming fortune gives you more crops. So if you want a max farming setup for collection or money, I highly recommend getting this pet. Similar to the elephant pet, some people wish to gain farming XP instead of more crops to level up their farming skill. So if that's the case for you, then I highly recommend getting an epic level 100 rabbit pet. Now to the left of me is a legendary one, and that's the case because I use the legendary one to boost my actual minions. And since they're farming minions, then this is useful. However, if you don't have any farming minions, then epic is the way to go, as it's a lot cheaper and a lot easier to level up. And the reason why I recommend epic or legendary, if that's your case, is because of the farming XP boost, which gives you more farming XP, which is really good if you want to get that level up. So, yeah. Now, a perk that you definitely want to max is the Anita perk, which you can get from Anita over here in the Jacob house thingy-majiggy. Now, the reason why you want this is because it gives you more crops, and more crops equals more money and more collections, so like, why wouldn't you get this? Now, probably the hardest thing to max is your farming level. In this case, the max level right now is farming 60. Now, the reason why farming 60 is super useful, though, is because you can gain a bunch of farming fortune, plus 240 to be exact, which allows you to gain a ton more crops and is highly recommended that you eventually get because, I mean, your skill average goes up, you know? Gotta get into those guilds. Now, another quick thing that you definitely want to get is Rancher Boots. Now, technically, you don't need these. However, they're extremely useful because you could set your speed cap, which is super useful for literally any crop or every crop. So, yeah, definitely get these. Finally, one of the most important things you need to max your farming setup is a personal compactor. Now, it doesn't matter which type, but this item can compact any base item into its enchanted form, which is probably the most useful item in my opinion, as your inventory will rarely get full and will save you a bunch of time instead of you having to go into the crafting table and constantly crafting the enchanted form constantly. So honestly, doesn't matter what you're doing, farming or not, definitely get this item. Also, I mean, like, it's a talisman. You know, 2 extra damage, let's go. Now that we have every single universal item slash perk done, let's move on to the individual crops. For wheat, it is probably the most expensive setup to get. However, a max wheat setup, you would want to get yourself a tier 3 wheat hoe. Now, this is literally the max wheat hoe, so, like, you want it, because, I mean, max stuff is always good. However, this hoe is, you know, it's a bit controversial in my opinion, because it costs over 200 million coins, depending on the bazaar, to get, and it's just extremely expensive, and unless you're going for, like, a high collection or something, because wheat isn't even that good for money, I don't recommend getting the tier 3 version of this item. But, I mean, if you want to get it, go ahead, I ain't judging. Now, the carrot and potato max setup is pretty simple, and compared to other items, super cheap. Now, the only thing you're going to need is a tier 3 version of each hoe. So, as you can see, I have a max tier 3 carrot goss hoe, which is the best hoe that you can currently get for carrots. And potatoes is the same thing, except if we go into the recipe book, let's go over here. It should be, yep, it's right here. So this is the tier 3 version of it, and you could obviously get more on the collection, which allows it to go up higher to, say, Mythic, which I recombobulated it, so technically the max is Legendary. But yeah, that's the max setup you want for Carrot and Potato. Now, this item, you know, it's not too expensive, but to some people it might be. So the price is anywhere around 10 to 20 mil. However, the price may change depending on bazaar prices and stuff like that. So yeah. Now, for Pumpkin and Melon, you would want to use a Melon Dicer or a Pumpkin Dicer. Now, the reason why is because these are literally the best items you could get for melons and pumpkins. There's nothing else you can really get. So, yeah, these items, they're pretty cheap compared to most other ones as well. It only costs like 1 gold medal. So, yeah, these are the max things you want to get if you're farming pumpkins or melons. Mushroom is probably the least used setup, as there's no way to infinitely farm mushrooms. However, a max setup, in case you still want this either way, is going to be a maxed out fungi cutter. Now, the reason why is because it's literally the only good item for farming mushrooms. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Cocoa is another cheap setup and only requires a cocoa chopper. Now, the reason why is because it's literally the best for cocoa beans. There's nothing else you can really use to get the most amount of cocoa. However, the thing about cocoa beans is that you do not want to get Turbo Cocoa 5 like I have. And the reason for this is because currently Turbo Cocoa 4 and 5 are both glitched and barely give you anything compared to Cocoa 1, 2, or 3. So, honestly, if you want to farm cocoa for either money or collection, it's highly recommended that you only get Turbo Cocoa 3 right now until it's fixed. Now, if it is fixed, I'll probably leave something in the description, so yeah, watch out for that. But until then, get Turbo Cocoa 3 as well as a cocoa chopper. Cactus is another super uncommon collection, just like Mushroom. However, the max setup, in case you want to grind it manually, is going to be a Cactus knife. Now, the reason why this is good is obviously because it's the only good thing for Cactus. You cannot instantly break it with anything else, which means that Cactus knife is literally the best way to go. So, yeah, that's it for Cactus. Sugarcane in Nether Wart is probably one of the most expensive setups besides wheat. However, it's pretty much the same as carrot, potato, and wheat. All you need is a tier 3 version of each hoe, so you have the Blessed Turing Sugarcane hoe, as well as the Blessed Newton Nether Wart hoe. Now, these are basically, they're kind of expensive, nothing compared to a wheat hoe. However, they're probably anywhere from 10 to 30 mil. Now, I could be 100% wrong, but prices are changing so drastically that I don't have an actual guess for both of them at the same time. But it should be around there. So, yeah, that's it for Sugarcane and Nether Wart. So those are all the max items / perks that you would need for a max setup. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if so, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!